Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a person whom you have all known quite well. And we want to dig deep and discover what makes him boundaryless, what makes him a global citizen, what has inspired him to want to connect people all across the world so that they are prepared to thrive in this new reality that we are experiencing and indeed are going to enter. More challenging times, more exciting times, particularly when we speak of technology and the role it's playing to not only connect people but also help businesses cope with the changes and the transformations that we are experiencing across the globe. The person is very local. As far as I'm concerned, he comes from Pakistan. His history is unique. A month and a half ago, I interviewed him, and it was entirely in Urdu for the national audience here. And I've had an abundant list of people contacting me saying, we want another interview of Rehan, this time in English for the international audiences. This gentleman is known across the world for his philanthropy, for his entrepreneurship. He loves teaching. He's a social worker. And indeed, not only does he wish to alleviate poverty, but he wants to see everyone on this planet enjoying abundance of health, respect, and happiness. Um, he is unstoppable when it comes to energy, vision, inspiration. And somehow, every time I meet him, I am thoroughly energized. He's one of those people you cannot put in a box. If you look at his Facebook page, if you go to his YouTube channel, you'll find him talking about just about anything and everything. Yet he remains very, very potent, effective, and has helped thousands of people, including yours truly, to come onto the digital platform and start communicating with people in order to connect them and leverage diversity in an inclusive manner. So please join me in welcoming this one and only Rehan Allahwala.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so
alaikum.
happy to have you, Rehan. I mean, you're hard to get, but we were lucky to finally lock time and date, and now here we are on air. And here I am hoping that you will be as candid as you were with me in our interview that we conducted in Urdu. So this is more about the curiosity that people have, the audience, the viewers, our viewers have a curiosity. What makes Rehan so crazy, so inspiring, so global? Uh, and, what are his origins? So if I please suggest that you start with your early childhood, because that's the formative time. And it is something that I can never forget. Your early childhood and your current role on this planet are chalk and cheese apart. So I just want us all to learn from your journey and be inspired enough to follow in the footsteps that you have already paved for thousands of people around the world. So, where were you born, and what were your early influences, and what were the biggest challenges that you had to face? These are three questions that I'd like you to please comment on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kamran Bhai, and taking the time out to do this. I'm very hard to schedule, not hard to catch. Um, so,
True.
I was born in Karachi, Pakistan. It's a small city, as majority of the people know. It's 30 million people, as per the mayor of Karachi. And I was born in a business family, a Delhi Wala community, where we had a very close circle. I was not let out of the house at all, not permitted. So I had very few influences, and they were my parents, they were my grandparents, and schooling. I went to the city school, which was, the first branch of Beacon House, and which became the city school. And then my father asked me to travel at the age of 8, So I traveled alone to the US, and for a month, I was selling candies already in the outside the house, and inside the school we were selling stationery because I was not given pocket money. So the I used to go to my father's shop every weekend, every Saturday, spend the day there. That was my childhood. I was hanging out with the people who were working there, just sitting there, talking to them, listening to them. Um, and I think one of the things which I remember at that time was that I did not like that those people who were working there were making such small amount of money, and they were being abused by the people who were asking them to work for them. I remember very clearly that at that point I promised myself that I want to find a way, a better way, where they become kind of a partner with us somehow, because they work very hard. So they should get somehow more for what they do. I
Wow.
think that is something which I clearly remember. Um, Other than that, my father was always fixing things in the house or the car. He used to buy cars and fix them up, and then just for fun. So every weekend was like that, fixing stuff. Um, and my father was a very difficult, hard person.
Mm.
He, he wouldn't like mistakes. He is still is a very perfectionist. So he loves his perfection, and I had to unlearn that later on in my life to not to be perfect, because I don't think there's such a thing as perfection. I think perfection is achieved over time, not overnight. So it takes time. That was me growing up.
So my
And last
question
time
here is, how many
you asked
siblings
me,
do you have?
I have one brother who's
Yeah,
younger, 2 years. One
yeah.
brother.
Actually, just one brother who's younger to you.
Yes.
Is he very similarly oriented as you are, or is he on a different path altogether? I just wanted to know how upbringing can influence one individual differently to the other.
I think he's still into very much into business. He is kind of a philanthropic person, but not as full time as me.
Right.
He tells me that he has to catch up with me all the time. He growing up, he was brother of Rehan, and he doesn't like that. He wants to be his own person, but still,
Yeah.
I made myself so large that he has to still be called brother of Rehan,
So
even though
he lives in your shadow. And you
he's
mentioned something.
actually actually much better person, much better human than I am. He's very smart, much smarter than I am, very practical, more
Mm,
practical than I am. He has helped my father grow his empire into by leaps and bounds,
right.
um, 10x plus, I would guess, maybe 100x.
Wow. Wow.
So that's huge. But he enjoys business. I don't. I
Right.
really have never enjoyed doing business. I have just enjoyed solving problems. And yeah,
Now, what I wanted to know, because it's interesting that your father was a perfectionist and he was pretty much a disciplinarian, and you are quite the opposite. You're an innovator, a social innovator, as well as someone who's very curious and wants to leverage technology and keeps up with the changing times. So, did you have a tense relationship with him? Did you get into difficult waters with him at times? How did you manage this extremely contrasting styles? I mean,
my brother or my father.
no, you and your dad.
My dad and I were never close. We still are not close. I have been trying very hard to become close, but it's difficult.
Hmm.
And he doesn't talk to anyone. He doesn't talk, and literally anyone. Um,
Wow.
so he reserves himself to himself and some of his maybe business colleagues. I remember yesterday, half an hour we were together. We didn't exchange any words except for "Assalamu alaikum."
Wow.
But that's how he is, and I love him. I adore him. He's a remarkable man. He works very hard still, 10 to 12 hours a day. He's
Hmm.
73, and he has I mean, this is his third business in Dubai, which he's growing now, and
Wow.
um, he enjoys that very much, and that's all he does. He likes to solve problem in his own way, and I think he taught me that nothing is small or nothing is big, because everything was done by, in my entire house. Our entire house was, the plumbing and electricity work was done by himself, along with his one of his apprentice, I would say. And the factory, he's very hands on. um, for the last 3 months he's been trying to make a dhaka paneer, and I connected him to um, two cheesemakers in Pakistan, and he's like, and they were like telling him this and that. He's like, no, they don't know what they're talking about. They've never eaten this paneer. I'm going
Wow.
to get it right. He keeps trying every weekend. Still now, it used to be cars. Nowadays, it's bread and cheese. So
Wow.
the experimentation still goes on, and it's not just. But his experiments are a little different. He
Hmm.
than mine. But there's still experiments. He's still um, trying to get his cheese right. Today I tried his cheese today morning, and it was pretty good.
Oh.
And I asked him, so he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it right. It's getting there. It's still I'm working on."
So you mentioned that you traveled alone to New York at the age of 8,
Houston,
and
yeah,
in Houston, sorry. Uh, it's which year was this? I mean, I mean, I'm
1981.
1981. Now, it must have been quite unusual. Did you have some relatives in Houston at that time who received you and sort
And my
of
entire family
hosted
lives
you?
in Houston. My naniyal lives in Houston, so I
Okay.
lived with my khala for a month, and I was alone, as in it was not my mother, not father, not sibling. I was alone myself, but I went with my mother's khala.
Right.
So they were like three people, but I was sent with them, and
Okay.
getting a passport made, and going to the passport office, was all that was interesting at early age.
So I'm trying to figure out two things about you. One is that your vision is global and it's extremely inspiring and ambitious by any means on the one end. And then the other aspect of yours is that you feel for people across um, the world, and particularly those who are excluded, marginalized, who are struggling. Now, what are the roots of these two amazingly important features? Because you've never been in government, you've never aspired to hold office at any point, you've never gone into politics. How did you firstly arrive at a vision of this magnitude and this sense of empathy for the billions on this planet, and at the same time you have such humble origins? uh, this is where I want to know, at what point was your mind sparked?
I think my mother has always taught me to treat anybody equally. We have never called our driver. We've called them driver sahib,
Right.
and we've never called a guard. We guard sahib. We have always called. We have, I eat with them. I have no problem thinking that somebody is, uh, we're just different, but we are not. I'm not bigger than them. एक ही सफ में खड़े हैं महमूद और अयाज. That was my mother's teaching. Still is. My mother is full time working at Al Khidmat, running the women's division for them. Always crying for others, always worrying. Don't leave the food on the plate because somebody out there doesn't have food, or don't waste money because you can give it to charity. So that was the origin. That was probably, that's where it came from, the empathy for everyone. And global is because I traveled, and when I started traveling, um, I did not find any differences in humanity. They're all humans. They have similar problems in the world. So uh, I think we should work with for everyone. Our prophet taught us he came for everyone. So I don't see why I need to work with for o- only one biradri or one country or one city. I see myself as a human being living on planet Earth.
Brilliant. So the next question would be that in your journey, you've faced setbacks, I'm sure. You've had challenges that you've overcome with great difficulty. Would you like to share with us what those setbacks were? How did you bounce back? What helped you recover from surprising outcomes that were not really that would normally sort of break the back of any entrepreneur? What have been the biggest challenges on your path to where you are now?
I've lost all my money twice. I've been bankrupt twice. So the last one was 15 years ago. I made some money in the US and came back to Pakistan trying to set up a business here and lost everything. I went from 150 people to two people.
Mm,
Came back to my father's house. Similarly, there was another time a few years earlier. I lost everything. I closed shop and everything. I don't think I have had failures. I think they were all journeys.
mm,
It's like a movie. I see life as a movie. There's laughter, there is drama, there's crying, there's night, there's day. If you don't have night, how would you know where the day is? If you don't
mm.
have fever, how would you know how health looks like?
Wow.
So I don't see myself as any setbacks as such. I
Mm,
just saw lots of experiences,
wow.
and that allows me to now just do things without worrying that failure is such a thing as failure. I mean, what will happen? Fine, it will not work. This will not, I mean, I once went to London without a visa. I just showed up at the border and saying, "Hey, can I go?" I said, "Where's your visa? It's expired. How can you just go without a visa?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe you will give me a visa." And he said, "Are you joking with me?" I said, "No, I'm serious. This is my passport. I bought the tunnels pass, $600. And if you let me go, I'll go, come back, see the Big Ben, and come back." And he granted me visa after having a 10 minutes of conversation right there and then. I mean, just visa on arrival. And he
Mm.
was like, "Don't do it again." But you know, if you don't try, then what maximum can happen, right? You can fail.
Right.
You will learn something, or you will earn something. You'll earn experience or money.
So you've always had this daredevil courage in you,
I'm not
or
courageous at all. I'm a very scared person. I'm very careful. I think multiple times what I'm doing. I've made thick skin on many things. I've learned to deal with many things like criticism or uh, lots of people are very worried about me and for me because I do try to do everything. And they're like, "Guys, do focus on one thing and you will fail. There's no preparation." You were talking about politics. I launched a political party yesterday. So with the hope of 2,000 people working with us, without a website is all broken. Facebook page is broken. I don't care anymore for planning and all such. It will happen in time. Fine. Some people will dislike it. Some people have to dislike, and some people have to like. People who like will like. People who will dislike will like, and after some time. So eventually we'll get it right. So why wait for so much planning and lose the rest of the hair I have, and just why don't we just execute it? So I have become this person where I'm no longer scared of launching something. Sometime I am. I mean, like political party, I'm like, okay, when is ISI going to finally call me now? And so, but it's just when you keep doing something, you become good at it, and that's about it. Practice
now,
makes better.
so in the sense of your role so far, leadership, I think, is a word that fits you like a glove, and there are all kinds of leaders out there. If I were to ask you, because I think you're more, a product of the school of hard knocks, as opposed to Harvard or Princeton or any university. What would you say is your leadership style? What are the principles that guide you in your decision making? I mean, I know your humility doesn't allow you to speak of it in that way, but let me say that Leadership is a behavior rather than a title or a position. So the role you play is to inspire and motivate. Now, of course, there must be a pattern to what you do and how you do it, and you get the best out of people around you, even though you're not formally contracted with them, but you're a mentor to thousands of people as well. So, this is where I'd like to get you to think through and give us a sense of your leadership imperative, priority, and flavor.
I really don't know how to answer that one. I think about things and I think what implications that action will have make on my close relationship, on and the mashra and the culture and the people around me
Mm,
and the people who follow me, and what implication it will do 5 years and 10 years in the planet, in the country. And
right.
based on that, I take a decision that I think this is something which needs to happen. And over the years, now I have stopped doing more things and tried to now do my role, which is connecting people and inspiring rather than actually doing something. I used to be doing a lot of things.
Right.
Now I have realized that I'm not phenomenal at doing some things, but I can teach others how to do it and
Mm,
help them by holding their hands and bringing them forward and just being there for them and getting things done that way. And that
right.
is something I'm still learning, because social media has allowed this to happen, and it is a new kind of leadership which I wish that other leaders, political leaders, will actually take advantage of, because there is immense human power, brain power, man hours power on social media
Mm,
which we can channelize to get things done. But it's
right.
something which nobody knows how to do it,
Mm,
because it's so new. There's no book about it. There's nobody who's going to give you an MBA degree in it.
mm,
So that is the reason I've launched the political party, because we're going to create a government, simultaneous shadow government, on the micro level in Pakistan and then around the planet, where people can come and ask us as if we were the government, and we'll get things done for them using our power of social media and power of internet, which the government doesn't understand how it works. They don't
mm,
it's too slow, it's too fast for them.
right.
um, and for me to get things done like this, it will take 3 days. For
Mm,
uh, for anyone else out there, might take 6 months to a year. So I have, as I said, I've failed so many times, done so many things, that I understand who to call, when to call, where to call, who to ask what, and it just gets done. It's like a whole ecosystem I have within my network, that things just happen.
wow.
So 4 o'clock in the morning, I had a discussion, or 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a discussion with someone, and at that discussion, I launched a party. Next day, I had a website, and it's less than 24 hours. It's up and running. People are joining, and it's just happening. It just happens. I don't have to do anything anymore. That's the power of the internet. That you don't have to really do much. You just have to say, okay, kun. It starts to happen. The power of God, which He gave us to our ruh, to our soul, it's within us, and we can take advantage of using this technology, which is phenomenal.
Mm,
And again, I don't do it with the intention. Lots of people play the game with the intention of winning, and I
mm,
don't have that interest. I have the interest of starting. I'm
right.
interested in ending the game. My interest in starting a party is to give give inspiration to other political leaders and parties, that look, this is another way. This is my
Mm,
way of teaching. Where you have a mock-up company in an MBA class or something.
yes.
I don't do mock-up. I do real thing. When it fine, I spend some money. Whatever I earn, it goes into all these experiments of my life.
What?
So
Um,
that's my kind of leadership. I follow my gut. I follow my intuition. I follow my crowd, and based on that, it's a combination of all these 3 or 4 things that I
now
take a
that
decision and I
now that
follow.
you thank you, Rehan. I think what comes through in your description is decisiveness as well. I mean, I think that is a word that you don't sit on the fence. You don't suffer analysis paralysis. You see an opportunity. And you operate from intuition, from gut, because you're doing things for which there are no footprints or past precedents. So I suppose intuitive and decisive is very much a core element of your strategy. Now, the other question was that to do big stuff, you need teams. And because you have a presence, not just in Pakistan, but overseas, in the United States, in South Asia, in different countries, how many teams do you have, or are you a part of? And how do you manage all the communications that must be going on, formally and informally?
I have flunked the BCom management class twice, and I'm not really a good manager. When I see myself, I measure myself. There was, if you remember the time when NTM was launched, there used to be a management video every single day or every once a week. There was a one program on CNN called Pinnacle, and then there was another management class which I used to record and watch, and that was my institution. Pinnacle was a program which was about people who started Subway and Domino's and all those people. And I was very inspired that, why are these people growing up in the United States? All the aliens have to come there. All the big guys have to come there. Where are they? Why aren't they coming in Orangi Town? Like, hello, aliens, come here also. So the I think WhatsApp is my management tool, and I have amazing people around me. I'm so thankful for them, and I have lost a lot of people in my. I've hired over 2,000 people in my life, I think, and trained them, and now they're doing good for themselves. And I at one time I was in Malaysia. I was living in Malaysia for a month, and I got a text that, I'm leaving from tomorrow. Thank you very much. Well, it was lovely to meet working with you. And I was like, that was really hard on me. And that day I decided that from now on, nobody ever who was working for me, everything will be trained through video. And that's when video became a fundamental part of training. That was around 14 years ago. And I've been making videos since I was 19. I bought my first camera and started making videos because I don't like repetition. I don't like to do the same thing over and over. So now there are these tutorials which I have, which I can. My ultimate goal is to have 20 courses you do and you become partly Rehan Allahwala, or you become partly Kamran Rizvi, or you become partly somebody else. So we can replicate copies of ourselves very quickly. And that's another experiment which is going on in my office right now, and trying to create where we can create. I mean, what do we have? I think Pakistan has no oil, no gold. What do we have? We have people. We have 220 million people. And if we don't take this oil out, we're wasting it. It's like sitting on an oil mine or gold mine, and we're not refining it.
Yes.
So my ultimate goal of my learning company, which I'm doing, is take a guy who's never been to school, give him enough dramas and videos, and in 2 years he can act as a person you want him to act as. So
Wow.
just by giving him dramas and videos, watch him. We're going to make dramas on everything. So the goal is that you watch a movie and you understand what is E is equal to MC square. You don't have to sit in a classroom. You watch a movie. You watch Three Idiots or you watch PK, and you fundamentally start thinking on something.
Wow.
Why don't we use it for education?
Right.
So right now we are producing one documentary a week. The goal is to get to one documentary a day. The next, we are going to make one drama a day. And I want to bring the cost so low that I can afford it. So I want to bring like 5,000 rupees per drama for an hour. So that becomes really, fundamentally will change the way we educate ourselves. So my teams are, right now I have maybe 30, 40 people working with me, not so many. But this Facebook, I just have to put it out there and people get things done for me. I don't have to pay them.
Right, right. That's brilliant. I mean, so you also sort of are able to mobilize volunteerism and a lot of social capital in order to get big things done. I mean, so your business model also is not conventional, where you set up an organization and you have a hierarchy. You outsource and you work on the goodwill of individuals who share in your mission and are already well placed in their own roles and in their own businesses. So this idea that you got of mobilizing capable people who work for a cause, and I think you represent not just one cause but several causes which resonate. Now I'm sure that this program will be watched in the US and other countries. They must all be interested in knowing Rehan Allahwala. um, what is he wanting from the viewers of this particular interview? Now that we have heard of your vision and your approach to life and what you're aiming to accomplish, and I think you leave a legacy that continues even after you. And so, what is your wish from the audience listening right now, and that will be listening to the recording?
My biggest wish is that every single person who comes to this planet could find themselves and become that person which they are sent here for. We unfortunately come without a manual, and half or most of our life is spent discovering ourselves, and then by the time we discover ourselves, it's too late. Or we end up come from a house where our parents decide what this child is going to become, and that's not something which I like. I There is the woman who gave birth to the CEO of YouTube, current CEO. Her I can't remember his name. It's very Slovak name. It's difficult. But she has a book that the children come through us, not for us.
Mm,
And she's a foremost educationist. I'll make an introduction if you like. And um, if I could get that done, I'll be very happy. And that is my wish for our country and for every country. If we could actually work together, I don't consider myself. I mean, the political party we're launching, I'm already thinking to starting branches like companies branches in other countries, including India, Nepal, Bhutan. Okay, fine, because I'm creating a system, a technology based system where people will be able to solve their problems. And I've been predicting this for 10 years that eventually, governments will change. The structure of government has to change. It's not going to remain the way it is. There's a very nice book called The Sovereign Individual, which explained about it 15 years ago,
mm,
where sovereignty will become individualized rather than from a nation. And
mm,
that's the ultimate. If you become, which Iqbal says that, to become your own universe. We are
mm,
our own universe, and why? How do we get that universe out of us? 5 years from now, AI and robots will be everywhere. What
mm,
will our purpose be? What will we be doing on this planet? 8 billion people alive. I'm very scared of that time because we would not be needed the way we are right now,
yeah,
and there would be a lot of chaos if we don't change. There would be a lot of chaos if we don't do something about it,
true.
especially.
And Rehan, in this context, what would you say are the human-only traits that we need to leverage for the pre?
Unfortunately, that's the problem. There are no left. Eventually there will be no left because that's what AI allows us to do, is to do almost everything. There
Mm,
is a very interesting video on YouTube you might want to watch. It's called Human Need Not Apply. 10 years ago, I called seven interesting educationists to my home, had a party, and asked them to watch this documentary and asked them, what should we do? Because humans need not apply for this job and that job. All the jobs are eventually going to go away. That's why Elon is launching this chip for human to people interaction. That's why he launched OpenAI, because he's very scared of what's happening. He invested $1 billion on OpenAI because he's very scared that what AI will do to us. And I'm also very scared. I've told my children, live as much as you can because you only have 10 years to go. I don't know what will happen on after 10 years. This is my own family. I've actually been looking for a house I want to die in. That's the kind of fear I have for AI, and it's very real to me. But then I was, for 2 years I was wandering around with this fear. And then I told this to my khala, and she said, there's a hadith. Can I tell you? And I said, yes. It said that if Qiyamah is coming, the day of judgment is coming, and you have a plant in your hand, and you see that it's going to end, still go ahead and plant that tree. So since that day, I stopped worrying and I just started doing more actions. And fine, it's going to end. It's going to end.
Right.
What should I do? I should do my planting of my trees. That's all I can do. So I'm doing my trees of my
Right.
ideas.
I mean, there's also another futurist, Gerd Leonard, who says that there are human-only traits in the form of creativity and
For
ethics
now,
at this point. Yes,
or that's the thing. For now, there is lots of things we can do. But
right,
in the future, that's the big problem. When that's where the challenges will start, because if you watch Terminator and then just watch the Google Go versus Google Brain, it just
right.
flips your mind that how powerful this thing is, that it can unlearn and relearn at a pace which no human can. There
Mm,
must be some spiritual something inside us which
mm,
hopefully will awaken.
mm.
And I don't know, it's very, very challenging to think about it. We can do an hour-long show on that if you want someday.
No, and I think that you've pointed to a future, and you're stating a decade. I have a feeling that this point of caution, with every threat comes opportunity. If you remember at the start of the interview, you were balancing the two extremes. And when we look at the future, yes, you've painted a very bleak and a dangerous future 10, 20 years ahead
I
with
don't know if
AI
it's bleak.
becoming dominant. Sorry?
Humans as we it's I don't know if it's bleak.
Ah,
Humans as we know
yes.
will
As
have,
we are today.
as we are today.
Yes,
That's
yes.
where OpenAI comes in. That's
Ah,
where the implants of
right,
Elon comes in. I mean,
right.
humans as we are will have a
Ah,
challenge.
we'll have a
So
challenge and
we
we
will
need to
have to
evolve.
transform into singularity. We will
Right,
merge maybe with the machines. We
right.
don't know, but that's what um, the gentleman, the chief, what's his name, Ray Kurzweil has been preaching,
Mm,
and others have been working on very hard on. They're
mm,
very, like, he really wants to reach 2030 because that's where he believes singularity will come, and then that is when he can merge himself with the machines. He has lovely documentary films on YouTube which you can watch explaining all this. He's a very prolific writer and a
mm.
very most awarded scientist in the US. So when it comes from this kind of guy, it becomes
Ah,
challenging to challenge
ठीक
them.
ठीक है
Ray
तो
Kurzweil.
could you just mention the title of the book, or because the name I could not catch?
Ray Kurzweil. Just write Ray and Google scientist, and I will text it to you.
Right, do that, because we'll then share it on social media, and those listening could also catch up on it. So, coming to a more personal side of your story, you also seem to be very much into trends, because for strategy you need to know which way the world is going. Oh, thank you very much, Ray Kurzweil. So tell me something on a personal level, at a human level. Uh, what is your life in one day? How do you live your life in a day? What is that pattern? Because I'm sure those listening must be dizzy already. कि यार ये बंदा है, ये जिन है. Is he human or is he a jinn? So my question to you is, how do you balance your life? And what do you do in a typical day? How do you live your life in a day?
For many years, for at least 2 3 years, I have left it to a very open day, maybe even 4 years, maybe even 5 years. I don't know exactly. I used to wake up whenever I wake up, no alarm,
Mm,
and then pick up my phone, see my WhatsApp, and that decides my day. Normally, it's full of things to do, and I have
mm,
multiple choices, and I would just pick the ones and start doing it. By in the morning, my wife would ask, "What's your plan for today?" Nothing much, and then she would look at my Facebook and like It was full of things to do. So, but like this month, this COVID has been very good for me. I started to meditate more with punctuality, which has not been happening for this month, but I was very punctual with meditation. I took it up to 40 minutes. It's very hard for me to do 40 minutes to sit still, but I took it to 40 minutes twice a day. Then I started exercising, which I was never doing. When I came to Dubai, I've been making sure to go to swimming every single day for at least 15 minutes, or just go and dip myself and come back. Becoming Trying to revive my health has been something, because I've been awake. I've been When I was younger, I was working in the US, living in Pakistan. So I
Mm.
was working from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. And
Wow.
that has changed my whole biological clock. And my liver is not working very well,
Okay.
because when you don't sleep at night,
Yeah.
it hurts you.
Right.
So that has happened, and now I don't have I live day by day for now. I don't have That's why it's hard to schedule me, because I don't like to schedule for more than 2 days.
Mm.
And I work very productively this way for myself. I become very productive because I can do anything. I can't do this or I can't do that. I like this freedom for now, and
Mm.
it's been very rewarding. I don't feel regrets with this,
Mm.
that, oh, I'm not scheduled, I'm wasting my time.
Mhm.
I don't regret it as most people, because I don't see any books on this subject, that you
Mhm.
can live an unplanned life. How can you live an unplanned life? Hello. How can you run a business without doing any planning?
Because you have a vision and you are anything aligned to your vision you're working on and you are going with the flow. I think flow is your
Too much
philosophy.
flow. It's too much flow. It's too much
Okay.
flow.
All right.
Tai Chi, not Tai Chi, um, Tao Te Ching, the book, constantly asks you to just do fetch water and chop wood and do nothing else. Don't plan too much. So if you are going to follow the philosophy of Tao Te Ching, then this is what you become.
Right.
For now, this is how I live. I don't have a plan
Right.
for the day. Sometimes I have to. I mean, like when you or others, I force myself. I do things so that I kind of become planned, but it's not necessarily a plan.
Right.
It's an unstructured plan.
Right. So those who are working around you and with you, they must
Oh my
be
god!
they must be a
Poor
very
guy.
tentative hook on
Yeah,
their toes all the time.
yeah. Well, I'm very blessed that
Mm.
my wife doesn't bug me as much as she should.
Yeah.
Um, my kids,
Yeah.
my um, my mother, my father does stop bugging me 10 years ago, and
Now that you mention kids, I would love to know what kind of a parent are you? I mean, in terms of parenting, because look, it's our kids who are going to enter this very, very different world that you've just described. What kind of parenting are you doing, and what would your message be for parents listening to this program?
my message to them is stop listening to me and follow your heart. Do what
Okay,
you think is right.
right,
I raised my kids. Um, they think I was not there for them. They feel that I was not there much for them, whereas I don't think that's true. I have made sure that I'm always present on Eid, and I'm always taking them for travel for at least a month together, bound family together in one room, clamped in one space. Of course,
without
there's things
devices or with devices?
with devices, but now they all have their own devices. They're all, going inside their own devices.
How old are your
Um,
kids, and how many?
I have 6 children, and the oldest is 22 and youngest is 5.
Wow,
So it's a big spectrum.
straight. Yeah.
Um, I think they have turned out to be very interesting human beings. That's the only word I can use. I was once with Salman Asif Siddiqui, who he runs the ERDC, the Education Research Center. He was like, "How did you manage to create these six different personalities? You know, it's so different. Each of them is so different. One is Hafiz, one is totally, party
Just for
boy."
the benefit of those listening abroad, the Quran to have memorized is quite a commendable feat. And in Pakistan and in the Muslim world, kids at the age of 8, 9, 10, even 7 memorize the whole of the Quran itself. And one of your son is a Hafiz, you mentioned.
Right. He's in Islamabad, so you should, this is the one I asked. Maybe you could hang out with him.
Yes, I'd love to meet him.
He's doing internship there, and the other one is helping me. He's a designer. He's 18, but he traveled a lot with me because he had a different passport, so he could. I'm always a last moment person, so at last moment, 2 hours before, can I come along? And there's a discount on the pricing of the tickets, so he would just come along, and he traveled a lot, and he is very much his own person, and he is building a media city. I was talking about dramas. So for 1 year, we have been converting one of our warehouses for my father into a studios. So then the COVID came, so we stopped everything, and then we bought some land. We wanted to give a house to everyone who works for us.
Right.
So we were trying to build a new city outside Karachi. So we bought some land for that. So he's taking care of that.
Wonderful.
So let's see what happens.
Amazing. So your parenting style is let them find their own voice and flourish in that, and you support them, rather than being very disciplinarian and perfectionist.
No discipline. No discipline.
Right. They just
I
have,
mean, there are some boundaries, of course. No drugs,
of course.
timing, and there are some. But I mean, I can't force them anymore because they just fly to somewhere else. You just have to trust them, and then
Career choices are theirs, and
yeah,
they have a free
you can
voice.
only guide them.
Sure, sure.
And especially Saad, the younger one, he has an American passport, so he travels so much, so um, he loves to travel. He wants to travel all the time also.
Wonderful.
And he's very strong. He has a very strong personality
So
of his own.
behind every great man is a woman, and can we learn something about your better half?
My better half is my khala ki beti, is my cousin, Saima, and she and I are married now for 23, 24 years. I have adored her since I was 12. And she has been very, very cooperative in this journey. Without her, I could not have become myself. She gave me the freedom to become myself. I think majority of the credit goes to her, because if she wasn't taking care of the kids the way she did, I wouldn't be able to, you know, do all this. So she allowed me to run around and do my thing, and I keep pushing her to do her own thing. So she has designed our house twice, made our house. Now she's building a building, hopefully building another house. So she enjoys now doing this. So she's
Brilliant.
a wonderful person.
And you've been very blessed, I think, in this way. And I suppose God has thrown you on this planet to do great work, and He has facilitated you with the amazing relationships that you are surrounded by in your family and in your network. Now, the concluding bit that I would like to certainly ask you is about um, how do you foresee yourself going forward? Would you be writing any memoirs? Are you writing a book? Do you keep a diary? Do you journal your life? Because after all, the thoughts that you go through are rich, the experiences you've had, the interactions you've had. Are you documenting any of this, or is someone doing it for you so that for posterity, there is content and inspiration, other than the technology stuff that you were speaking of, the replication model of education, theater, drama, and getting people to learn rapidly and move on to the next level.
I don't even know anybody else who has been more documented in this country than me. I have 2 hours of conversations of my journey every single day for the last, I don't know how many years happening. So I
Mm,
have thousands of videos on YouTube about conversations like this, which people have. And all my everything, I believe, totally believe in transparency. So I
mm,
have been making sure that, I'm ready to die right now.
mm,
I would not. I have planned it that I could die right now. I have no regrets. I have
mm,
nobody to pay off. I
mm,
have I could be copied very easily. If somebody wanted to really understand, just go to my Facebook, spend
mm,
years on it, then you finally will get it. But everything has been, the
mm.
memoir is Facebook, the documentation is Facebook. It's technologically, it's very easy to take all my content, convert it into books if somebody wanted to.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
And
I'm
you're
I'm
quite open to the idea that you want knowledge to spread. You don't
I'm
want
very
to.
open source person. Yes, I have no business secrets whatsoever which I would hide from anyone. If anybody comes, I mean, I have given out everything which everybody asks, and even about our office meetings, internal office meetings, we do live. I mean, what else can we do openly? So
Wonderful.
it's very open.
Wonderful. And in terms of your plans with regards to living, do you want to remain based out of Pakistan, or do you feel that you are likely to move to a more convenient location that allows you international access? Because I know you're virtual, but time zones can be very challenging also. So, in terms of your locale, how do you intend going forward with that?
I don't know. I've had a house in Florida for 10 years, which I've never lived in. So it's something which I feel like why we should go and actually live there sometime. It's
Yeah.
it's a very nice place, but I don't. सारा जहां हमारा रहने को घर नहीं is my story. I don't have a very my wife built this new house which we have very comfortably for me. I have a whole studio, I have a whole office, I have a whole bedroom right next to it, my whole space, so I can get up and do my thing, and I'm very, very productive. Then I have another home office right upstairs where I have a
Mm,
team sitting, very comfortable, very, I mean, if I spend 2 hours, that's like a week of people's time. That's how productive I become if I can just be in my space. So I'm very happy in Karachi's space, but challenge is that people bug me too much, and
mhm.
I've still yet to learn how to say no to these meetings and please come and to our wedding and to our um, this. I said, well, dude, I'm happy that I made my own wedding. It's your wedding, enjoy it. It's not for me. It's your wedding. You need to enjoy it.
Okay.
So
So
I
the,
don't know
I
about
just wanted to ask, because this you are a fascinating individual. I'm wondering how much of what you do is hobby and how much of what you do
I don't
is
know.
work. I mean, I'm
None of
just trying
it
to
is
work
work.
out. I mean, there's a saying that when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Now, I'm just trying to fathom: are you a hardworking guy, or are you madly in love with brilliant, inspiring ideas?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm a hardworking person. I don't give up easily, but I do give up sometimes when I think it's not right for me and for the. There are three things I take, as I said earlier, to take decision of. My immediate family, the people around me, my country, and the planet. If it's going to hurt any of those people, I've closed businesses because of these things.
Could you
Uh,
repeat that? Because I think these are your values very clearly coming out.
I
Your family?
My immediate family,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to hurt them. There's no reason for them to hurt them. I have hurt them a lot, that's for sure, but
Mm,
I wouldn't want to, cross a certain limit.
mm,
Uh, it should never hurt the planet, what I do, and it should not hurt the people of my country. And I consider my country the planet. So if it's impactful, I'll keep doing things. People might think I'm not doing things, but I am in the back of my mind doing something, or online doing something. Most of the stuff I do is public. Everything, almost everything except going to toilet is public.
mm,
um, I'm very public because I want people to get out of this fear of going public, because we have this fear of, like, why should I tell it to the world? It's my social media. People
mm,
who are there are here to watch me. They can unfriend me, they can get away from it, they can block me. The question that why are you posting this on Facebook or social media is irrelevant to me, because it's my property. It's nothing to do with anybody else. So I live for myself. I have started to I'm working on trying to loving myself, which I don't as much as I should. And I want to do more to make my ruh, my soul happy
right.
than anybody else.
With regards to, and now this is my concluding question, because I feel that social media, whilst it has had its positives, and we've been hearing it for many years, lately, information, misinformation, misuse of social media, and particularly what we see being discussed in mainstream. What is your advice to those who are coming on social media? Because it is both an opportunity, and it's also something that can be extremely distracting and can be harmful as well. A lot of people are suffering from depression as a result of the use of social media, because they're counting number of likes, and if that's not going up, they're going into a downer. Their self-esteem is suffering. I'm sure you're mindful of the dangers of excessive use of social media. So, as a opinion leader, and as someone who's inspiring so many youth and people in the country and abroad, what is your advice? How can we make good, practical, wise use of social media, as opposed to become victims of a very important asset that we have?
Today's world, if somebody doesn't read a book, he's called that you're not a good person. You should read books. But only a few hundred years ago, maybe 300 years ago, people were burned if they were found with a book. They were not allowed to have a book or read a book. They were criticized that you are having devil's ideas, or you're getting into depression, or same things which you are mentioning about social media. I'm assuming I wasn't there, that people were pointing and killing and burning those people because of those reasons, because it was causing the society what is called a change.
Mm,
Social media is a very young product, 15 years old, and a society like ours should not
mm,
just use it, but abuse it. We should use it more and more and try to understand how to take advantage of it, how to use it to educate every single person on this country, how to allow people to make more money out of this country, how to get rid of our debts by actually taking out the brain power of our human beings, not by trying to take loans or not by trying to set up industry. The industry we need to set up is human industry. We have human beings, we have oil, floods of human beings, 200 million human beings. If we made every single Pakistani a millionaire, people will come to us for making money. And it's not difficult to make money on the internet. Everything is already there. We shouldn't be using it. We should be abusing it. There should be billboard everywhere. For God's sake, before you do anything, YouTube it. Don't eat my head. YouTube it. Go out there and YouTube it. There should be not a single metric student who should be allowed to get a matriculation unless he has 50 videos on YouTube. There shouldn't be a hafiz who should be given a sanad of hafiz until all his Quran is on YouTube. It's a blessing for us. It would have cost us trillions of dollars to upload this kind of content on the YouTube. It's given to us for free, and we are not taking advantage of it. The problem is in the discipline of it. And when you send a school nursery, a child, there is a person there who's watching the children. They don't tell you what to play with, how to play with. They help you. They learn how to communicate. We ban YouTube. We ban TikTok. Tomorrow we will ban Facebook. We don't need to ban these things. We need to tell them how to use these powerful tools. They're like atom bombs in our hands. Of course, we can explode things with it unless we know how to use it. If nobody taught us how to use a knife, people will kill people with it. It's not the knife which has a problem, it's how you tell them what to do with it. How many people, content creators, are putting content on YouTube? Why is a single teacher getting a salary sitting doing nothing? Why wasn't he forced to teach on YouTube, so that the next 5 years we don't need those teachers anymore? People can sit at home and learn. Why isn't from 1 to 10 content still on YouTube? Why aren't we able to use this content, and why aren't we using technology to educate ourselves? A minister of education told me that I spend $500 a month per child in KPK. Can you imagine? Why isn't he giving laptops to everyone? Why
mm,
isn't he giving free internet to everyone? Why is he spending $500 a month per child to educate him? He
mm.
can get, for God's sake, Khan Academy, and that's it. People can learn. So we should, as we can leap forward using technology as a nation, we can skip all the drama of schooling and colleging and universitying, and we can skip it directly. Why did everybody in Pakistan watch Ertugrul? If yes, then why haven't we invested in creating a drama which fixes our ethics, which fixes our timing, which fixes our education? Why are we wasting technology? Though I have 1,500 schools. Why do you need 1,500 schools? Build 10 studios where we make dramas, like where everybody watches it, cries for it, dies for it, wants to have a desire to become like that. We want to become warriors, or we want to become scientists? Do we have a drama about any of the scientists of our Muslim world? We constantly claim, oh, we invented algebra, we invented this, and we invented that. Does any of the person know who were they? Who were they having affairs with? Who were they having excitement with? Who were their What was their life like? Why would I want to become? I want to become Artugul. Why? Because I want to become a warrior. Is this what we want to become? Constant warriors and giving war? War is the answer in 21st century? Why isn't Star Trek dubbed in Urdu? Why has Ertugrul been dubbed in Urdu? Why wasn't our children, why isn't our nation given the imagination of Star Trek and Star Wars? Why just Ertugrul? That is what I would say we should do. If you are an educator, dub a drama. If you have voiceover artist, dub a drama. If you can dub a cartoon, create knowledge on the internet, do your part, then ask God, God forgive us. We're not doing anything. We have Every single person has this atom bomb in his hand. $100 you can buy a phenomenal phone today. $100, and every single person spends $1,000 on a wedding. You will get begging bows. Oh, I have this poor girl. I want to get her married. Shame on that boy who is marrying this girl without having the money. Why is the father going to bed for Jahez? Why aren't there dramas on these things? Drama is the way to educate people. That's how we are being educated by Hollywood, by Bollywood. That's why we even speak Urdu. If there were no Indian films, we'll probably not be speaking Urdu today. Majority of the uneducated kids are speaking Urdu Indian style. Why? Because that's how they're learning. Nobody's teaching them. So that's what
Media.
my last message is
Media.
to
Media
use
has
it.
to be leveraged to accelerate the learning process, to educate and build awareness and tap into the resources that we have, which you've rightly mentioned. We have the youth dividend with us, and not only in Pakistan, but I think globally, if governance and if education could be taken on this digital space and utilized, I think we could fast track development for the benefit of many. So, Rehan, what is your biggest frustration in this entire game?
The plants don't grow fast enough like dhania and pudina. The
Someone
change
described,
takes time.
when I put this question, someone described that the biggest frustration I have is the interruption I have to deal with called sleep. Uh, so I
Oh, I
said,
love my sleep.
I know, I know. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, for roasting us with your ideas, because I feel singed as such. But I must say, it has opened many windows in my mind, and I'm sure our listeners would also be encouraged to flood your Facebook page with questions and comments, which you always welcome. And I'm certain that going forward, we'll have many Rehan Allahwalas coming out in the coming years, so that they are making good that contribution for the benefit of so many. Because frankly, your mission to see everyone in a state of enjoying health and wealth and happiness, I think is close to everyone's heart. And this dream could take many years, decades, centuries, or much quicker. So let's conclude with the thought that it is a sin to be inefficient in a world where there is so much need. And what you've been emphasizing here is efficiency, is effectiveness, which can only come from caring, from dreaming, from taking some risks, and from expecting a lot more from each other. So, Rehan Sahab, I want to thank you once again for your precious time and for pouring your heart out and passionately appealing to all of us to wake up to the opportunity. Otherwise, we'll be swallowed alive by AI. Thank you so much indeed. God bless you. And see you again soon on a different theme, probably. And we might broadcast that from the moon.
I hope it's not taking so long that you will come up to me and say, "Let's talk about that."
Well,
And
it may happen fast.
I
So,
want to really,
closing remarks, Rehan. Closing remarks from.
Kamran, I really want to thank you. You are a nation builder, and you are a hidden gem of this country, which majority don't know. And it makes me sad that when people like you are not known to everyone. I don't know why we wait for people to die before we thank them. But I want to thank you while you're alive for what you have done all your life. You have created a whole empire of trainers, inspired a lot of them. You're a very humble man. Um, you, I wish you would brag about yourself more.
Well, I
And
have you to do that for me.
thank you. I would be honored any day. I really, 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 really think that the clout which you have in the training community has the power to help this country become more sustainable, stand these people on their feet. These trainers are doing ambitious work because of you guys, the core team which created you guys. And if you can put content on there, on in Urdu, in Punjabi, in Saraiki, in Urdu, in Sindhi, it will impact a lot of people. The time it took used to take to change a generation may have been 2 generations, but now it's 3 years time. You can totally fundamentally change. If 1,000 trainers went out there training this country, 10 of them will become phenomenally known, and they will start transforming millions. If one Qasim Ali Shah can do what he's doing, imagine if 1,000 came, what will happen? We don't need these schools, universities, colleges to transform these nations. These schools, universities, colleges are not teaching the core values which you are teaching, unfortunately. I wish they would, but they're not. And eventually there will be a time when they will do that. But I want you to please take my request. Try to see yourself as the chief training officer of this country, and you have 220 million customers who are waiting for you, reaching out for you, and you take it upon your shoulder that these people, they have the potential. They all have the potential. They have the 24 hours, the mind, the eyes, the ears, the same exact tool which $100,000 person is making in the US. And you can teach them in very soft, kind ways. It will not happen overnight, but it can happen in a decade if people like you supported us, help us. Any technological assistance you need, I'm with you. I
Thank you.
would like to even invite you as a shadow minister, as a chief training officer of this country, honestly.
Thank you.
Why? Because we need this to happen.
Right.
Imran Khan cannot do it, Nawaz Sharif cannot do it. You have the power to do it. And people can't see it. I know it for sure. It's like it's like daylight to me that you guys have the power to transform this country. Thank you very
Thank you
much
so much
for
for
doing what you.
putting so much faith in us. It's a burden, it's a responsibility which I gladly accept, and we'll communicate on this. And I'll be coming to Karachi in a week's time, inshallah. And I'd like to have a face-to-face meeting with you where you can lock a certain understanding in my head. Thank you so much. God bless you, and stay safe. Allah Hafiz.
Allah.